up, y'all? Jeremy Jackson, host of the Sports Medicine Broadcast. It is crazy weather here in Houston. I came in, they're actually using our school as a shelter, so I came in to help and try and interview Kathy. And Kathy, I'm sorry that I've kind of cut your time short just because of the weather. We were supposed to interview at noon, and thanks for making the accommodation here.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, so this episode will be sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Dieringer. That's Dieringer, Dieringer. So sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Dieringer, or her last name Dieringer. So Kathy, tell me how you got into athletic training when you first learned about it, and then how you got to where you are right now.
Okay. Well, I was a student at the University of Texas. I was majoring in kinesiology and really thought I was going down the coaching road. I had an interest in that, and I was exposed to athletic training in a history of physical education class where the professor talked about our profession. And I thought, wow, that's a really cool combination of sport and medicine, two things that very much intrigued me and interested me. So I went and visited with the head athletic trainer. And from the minute I was a part of the athletic training room, I was hooked. It became a passion very quickly, something that I really wanted to do. And that's how I got started.
So just by chance, you're just kind of checking it out?
Yeah, absolutely. I was checking it out, and sorry, I'm trying to close some things on my computer here. I was checking it out and loved it and stayed there as a student for the years that I was there. Then I had an opportunity to do a graduate assistantship. So I went off to Eastern Kentucky University. At the time, the president of the NATA was at Eastern. So I got to experience what it was like to work with someone who was the president of the NATA. Was there, finished my master's, took my first job at a Division I university, Florida State. Was there for a couple years, and then I wanted to come home. There was a position that opened up here in Denton at Texas Women's University. I was the head athletic trainer there for 11 years. And then I went into the clinical setting after 11 years and worked for a company, a PT company, and then opened my own business about 14 years ago now.
I gotcha. All right, so you were going into coaching. What were you planning on coaching?
Well, it was back in the day where when you went into coaching, you kind of coached everything. But my interests largely were volleyball and tennis.
I gotcha. And so in your experience as a high school athlete and in being around college, there was never a time where you were introduced to an athletic trainer?
I was not. I was an Air Force brat. I'm very proud to say I was an Air Force brat. And the places that we were stationed largely did not have athletic trainers working there. It surely was a profession that I didn't know about and wasn't introduced until that day at the University of Texas.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you to your parents for serving and protecting my freedom. So,
yeah, thank you.
What do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment as of this moment in athletic training?
Oh, wow. What a great question. Well, I love to build things. And I mean that figuratively and literally. When I went to Texas Women's University, it was a program that wasn't much of a program. There was the athletic trainer who was staff, and there were 2 students. And I don't know how they managed, but my goal when I got there was to build a reputable program with lots of students who were passionate about the profession. And fortunately, at the same time, I was able to build a couple of athletic training facilities, which was also very enjoyable. I managed to recruit some students back when it was internships, managed to recruit some students who have gone on to be very successful. Physical therapists, occupational therapists, physicians, and athletic trainers across the country. And that's, I think, what I'm most proud of, is giving back to that profession by helping other athletic trainers get started in their career and becoming as passionate about athletic training as I am.
All right, so building up the programs there takes women and continuing the legacy, helping other athletic trainers, and not just the athletic trainers, but obviously the entire communities that they reach.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so in those buildings, not physical buildings, but in building those programs, what has been your biggest challenge?
Wow. Well, I think it's many of the challenges that we're still facing today. The very, very long hours, the pay issues that we're having, the lack of life balance that is still present for so many of us who are working in college, university, or secondary school. The biggest challenge for me was figuring out how to make all that happen, figuring out how to say no when you needed to say no, and figuring out how to ask when you needed to ask, and whatever that ask was, more staff, more budget, higher salary, to help each and every one of us with life balance.
Yeah, I think we hear that a lot, life balance. People say work balance, but I've heard somebody say that it's life balance, not work-life balance, but it's, you got to balance everything in your life. And, there's still a debate. And sometimes, I'm pretty close with Josh Yellen here in Houston as he's directing the University of Houston Master Athletic Training Program. And some of his new athletic trainers, they're not used to working the 80 hours. And I'm thinking, that's good. I want that change from them to come to kind of go up the line. To me, I don't want to have to work 80 hours a week. I want to be more of a, 40, 50 hour, 60 hour a week kind of thing. And then I'm off during the summer. So I'm definitely with you there.
Right.
All right. You've been pretty active on Twitter doing your 3 and 2. Is it 3 and 2? 5 and 2? 3 and 2. So 3 and 2. And one of the things that is important to me is the secondary school setting, right? And so you've talked about that a good bit. You talked about the value model, and I've talked about that here on the podcast some. What are some of the things that you plan to do if you're elected president to incorporate the secondary school athletic trainers more?
To incorporate them into?
I hear a lot of secondary school athletic trainers saying the NATA doesn't really concern themselves with the secondary school setting. And so I'm not saying that's everybody. There are people who are involved, but if that's what I'm hearing, what is one thing that you're going to do to bring them in?
Well, I think a lot of the things that they're already doing and that I've been fortunate to be a part of will have to continue, if not become enhanced. Developing the secondary school value model, we talked about that for a very, very long time. Those are concepts that are not necessarily new. They just needed to be packaged in a way that people could use them. And I think that needs to continue. My next thought was to have an advocacy toolkit. I think that's the next step past the value model, is how do we create a toolkit that helps promote and gives athletic trainers the ability to promote themselves better. Communication, I think, is where it all starts, however. The Atlas Project, if we can get that done and can get that true count of where we are with athletic trainers across the country, and then use that data to target communicate with not only the NFHS, but the different sports, the athletic governing bodies of each particular state, and target communicate, how can we help you get more athletic trainers in your state? I strongly believe in 100% saturation. We've got to get to the point where we have an athletic trainer in every high school. So communicating that becomes important. And I believe that's something that I excel in, is listening to others' perspectives and being able to communicate, which starts with listening. What do you need? And how can I help you get there? I believe all of that together will help us have a better advocacy for the secondary school athletic trainer.
All right. So as you're discussing, the value model, how can someone find out kind of where your talk is, or the information, some of the information that you've communicated or that's been, so the toolkits that have been created for the value model?
On the secondary school committee link that's on the NATA website, all of that information is available there. And of course, I did that with Larry Cooper. We did that presentation together and had a lot of fun because we talked not only about some business concepts, but also in the trenches, boots on the ground advice on how you can take this information and make it your own and really have an impact. But all of that information is on the website, and of course, Larry and I are more than available if people have questions or just want to talk through some concepts that might not have been clear seeing the presentation on a website versus in person.
All right, and that's actually one of the things that I've seen. There's several people, Mike Hopper, Christy Messina, both of them very active in the secondary schools athletic trainer Facebook group, and both of them said, hey, I had a question for Kathy, and then within a day or whatever it was, I was on a video call or on a phone call with Kathy, just being able to talk to her and kind of work through some of this stuff. And so I feel that you're very accessible, and just like you said, you're willing to talk and explain and those kind of things. So
absolutely. And I also, one of the things that I want to do is have more Facebook Live communications with the entire membership, and could also be targeted. Okay, this month we're going to have a targeted Facebook Live with secondary school people. So let's all get on, let's get together, and let's talk about what are the issues out there that we need to address. But having more of that one-on-one conversation with the leadership across the NATA, I think is important.
I definitely agree. I feel like after I interviewed Scott and, doing the podcast, I've become more invested in athletic training and in the NATA and what they're doing as a greater good, as the whole of the picture, because there's a relationship and it's not just like bureaucracy dumping things down on me, but hey, these are real people doing real things. So, okay, if you were going to pick one thing that was your campaign goal, your driving NATA goal, what you want to accomplish before the end of your term, what's that going to be?
100% saturation of secondary school athletic trainers.
100% saturation secondary school athletic trainers. All right. And again, that goes back to kind of what you're talking about, the Atlas project. That way we can identify where the need is. We can continue to grow that toolkit and make it specific, because like you were saying, it's been there. We just didn't know how to use it.
Exactly. And figuring out a way to make sure you do know where it is. And I mean, every athletic trainer across the country, the resources are there. How do we make sure you can find them first? And second, you're comfortable implementing them. And third, if you have issues, questions, concerns, there's someone there to answer those questions. I think all three of those things are extremely important.
All right. So in all fairness, we're not doing a head-to-head deal with Tori. So if you were to say, what do you think his greatest strength is as a potential NATA president, what do you think that would be?
I think Tori is a great board member. He's a good thinker. I've always enjoyed talking to him about issues and being able to converse through the pros and the cons of that. So his greatest strength would be his ability to work with the board and collaborate through issues.
Good. Whenever we see the presidential campaigns and those kind of things, I always hate where they're just stabbing each other in the back. So if you can speak well of your running mate, then that speaks even better, in my opinion, of you, right? If all you can say is negative stuff, then again, that just says kind of the person you are.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the big differences between our presidential run and most others is there hasn't been any negative. Tori and I have great respect for each other. We worked across from each other, so we're in a circle in a boardroom. But we work side by side on many, many issues, and he's a good leader. I can't say anything bad about him in that respect. So we both respect each other very much.
Okay, and if you were to leave athletic training today, and walk away, what would be your greatest memory?
Oh, mercy. You know, I was fortunate to receive the SWATA Hall of Fame years ago. It was a few years ago. And my greatest memory is when I was at the banquet, my parents were there. And my mom was very sick. You had to ask this question, didn't you, Jeremy? She was in a wheelchair, and she came in, and my parents were going to be on the stage with me. But she was in a wheelchair, there was no ramp. And we were standing there next to the podium trying to figure out what to do. And without thinking, two athletic trainer friends of mine picked her up and put her on the stage. And that was my greatest memory, is that they would do that for her and for me without even thinking about it. So that still obviously gets to me. Greatest memory I've had in athletic training.
Congratulations on the SWATA. Best of luck on the NATA presidential election. And it is amazing to see the camaraderie within the athletic training community. I've mentioned multiple times when we had the athlete die here that the people who reached out to me first were athletic trainers. Right? I felt more supported by people and outside of my city athletic trainers than I did by my school administration.
Right.
And that really is phenomenal. And I'm glad that they were there for you, that they stepped up, and that your mom was able to be a part of that for you.
Thank you. And you're absolutely right. The family of athletic training is a big one, but in many ways it's a very small one. We're very tight, and we take care of each other.
Okay. I know you're running out of time. Last minute pitch. Why somebody should pick you?
Well, well, thank you. I've been serving this profession for a long time. It's a labor of love for me. I thoroughly enjoy doing what I can to help move this profession forward. I believe I have a unique perspective because I've worked at the collegiate setting. I've worked secondary school outreach. I've worked in the clinic, and I have a background in healthcare. I believe I have a very broad perspective that helps me be able to see the big picture. I have a global view of athletic training, while at the same time, I have a very focused view on what's going on with secondary school, what's going on with college, university. But you know, in the end, the global view is we're all the same. We want to make our patients better, and that's our number one goal. And second, we want to do that while we have life balance. And I believe my perspective will help us identify and maximize opportunities that will help us create better life balance, improve our job situations, and move us forward in healthcare. So that's why I'm excited about the opportunity, and hope that people will consider checking my box when ballots open on Friday.
All right. You've made the comment about your being accessible. So if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Probably the best thing to do is email me and set up a time. Because I am still doing patient care, being able to catch me on my cell phone is sometimes difficult, but reaching out to me on email and say, hey, I'd like to visit for a few minutes. When are you available? And then absolutely we'll find a time and make it happen.
All right. And that email is KIDIER@ddsportsmed.com.
Absolutely. That's it.
All right. And then if it's a little easier for you to remember, it's KDIER1 on Twitter. And you can say, hey, Kathy, can you message me your email, and then go from there. But again, it's KIDIER@ddsportsmed.com, or on Twitter is KDIER1 on Twitter. And then you can hit her up there, get in contact with her, ask her those questions. Don't not vote because you don't know, because she's obviously accessible, right?
Yes.
We're facing these floods here in Houston, and it's crazy. And I've said, hey, can we reschedule? Hey, can we do this? And she's just made time to speak to me, but also to speak to you, the voting body of the NATA. So reach out, get a hold of her, ask her your questions, and then make an informed choice.
Thank you, Jeremy. And also let me say that we're thinking a lot about those of you down in Houston and what you're going through. And if there's anything you need from the athletic training world, please don't hesitate to ask.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, Kathy, I know you got to get to another meeting, so I'll go ahead and end it there. Hey, thanks so much for working me in.
Thank you, Jeremy. Take care.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.